Okay, so you got a blues band and you want to hire a drummer? Do you speak drummer? How do you communicate to your drummer? How do you get the best out of your drummer? For these answers, stay tuned.
Your favorite drummer, all the way from Chicago, Illinois, Mr. Andrew Blaze Thomas.
Okay, so today's lesson is all about getting the best out of your drummer. So, you have a blues band. Do you have to hire a new drummer? Or do you have a drummer that's not cutting the mustard? How do you tell them what you want? Do you want them to play louder, quieter? Do you speak the language? Okay, so here are a few tips. Most likely when you play, you're going to want some dynamics. Every great blues band has dynamics. There's parts of the songs in the show where you're blasting and you're playing loud, and then there's portions when you want to break it down and play quiet. When I sit in with the great buddy guy, he loves to say the one thing: I want it so quiet I can hear a rat pissing on cotton. That was his way of communicating to the band, letting them know he wants it extremely quiet. What I figured out over the years, when I'm playing with somebody like that, play the side stick. To me, that's the quietest way I can play a groove and continue to groove without breaking up the pattern at all. Most of us good drummers out here that's working, we know what the side stick is. But the question is, as a band leader, do you know what it is? Let me play a little bit for you to refresh your memory. Now, you may not be a big fan of the side stick sound. Maybe you want something even quieter than that. Maybe you want to tell a story to the crowd. Drop the dynamics. Maybe you want to introduce the band or just talk about the intensity of the song and really get the people in the moment. When you really want your drummer to play at as quiet as possible point, but still keep the groove going in the background really soft, just tell your drummer to play the hi-hat and the bass drum really quietly. That's it. Check this out. So there you go. You've got two options. Now let's move on to something else a little bit more sensitive to us drummers, and that's tempo. Now, in the blues world, most likely we're not using any clicks. Clicks is mainly used in the pop world and hip hop, but in the blues, we're the click. I encourage every drummer that watches this video, practice to a metronome. Even if you don't use it on the gig, it really makes your internal clock much better. As a band leader, do you know the beats per minute of your songs? Are you prepared? If you know the beats per minute for every song that you want to have in your set list, it's great to have them memorized. Know them. Practice your songs at home and know the beats per minute. That way, when you get to the gig, and most likely there won't be a rehearsal, you can tell them in the sound check, hey, I got this one song at 120 and I like to beep it up a bit during the solo. So it might go to 124 and expect to go back to 120 on the verses. If you talk to us like that, we know exactly what's going on. Even if you don't say exactly where you want the numbers, if you know the numbers yourself, it gives us a great reference point of how to approach the music. So we know the numbers before we show up, if we're good at our job. But the question is, as a band leader, do you? Okay, I got a scenario for you. You're a band leader and you just cut a record, but you need a new drummer to support your band for the tour coming up. So you go down to your blues club and you go and you sit in with the hottest drummer in town. You turn around and you look at that drummer and you say, give me a shuffle, 120 beat per minute. If that drummer looked you right in the eye, count that shuffle off and it fits the song, just like you intended and wanted it to, really close to 120 or dead on, that's the drummer. See, if you know your tempos in your head and if you practice the songs that you're gonna perform, you should know what the beats per minute are. When you sit in with a new drummer, all you have to do is think about that song. Once that song starts playing in your head, you're gonna remember how it goes and the tempo is gonna come to you. So if you know your song is 120 and you know the feel, when somebody else count that 120 rhythm off and start playing it, you're going to know they're dead on. That's how you find a good drummer. There's also a flip side to that coin. Suppose you are a drummer and you looking for a new gig. So you go down to the local blues club and you sit in with the hottest guitar player or band leader in town. They turn around and they say, give me a shuffle 120. You look right at them and you count that shuffle off with 120 and you lay it right on down. Best believe you're going to get the gig. Now, let's talk about another technique that you probably want out of a good pro drummer that's playing some blues. You want to hit some rim shots. If you ask your drummer to play rim shots, most likely your pro drummer knows exactly what they are. But if they don't, tell them to watch Andrew Blaze Thomas YouTube videos. They'll get it. Rim shots, it's a solid sound. I use them on the 2/4 of a rhythm all the time. It defines the backbeat in the shuffle and just about every beat we play. You may be a band leader that don't like rim shots in your music. You might want your grooves a little bit softer. Maybe you want some ghost notes or some tasty stuff going on. It's easy to communicate that. If a drummer is really pounding a snare and he's hitting in such a powerful way that doesn't fit the mode of the song, tell them to play the center of the snare drum. Say, hey, use the bead of the stick. Don't play the rim shot. There's a few things that band leaders often do to let us drummers know exactly what they want, but in a weird about way. Like, you might rev up your arm or move your arms really fast and flingy if you want the drummer to play louder. Or you might do like this if you want the drummer to play quieter. But what exactly do you want the drummer to do? I'm going to play you a groove. During the groove, I'm going to start off and play some side stick. Then I'm going to open the hat. Then I'm going to play some ride cymbal. Then I'm going to play the bell of the ride. Then I'm going to play the ride really, really heavy, that driving sensation that you might feel and like, the driving feel. And then I'm going to flip the stick over and play the butt end of the stick. When I'm playing light on the ride, I use the bead. When I'm playing heavy on the ride, I'm using the shaft. When I want a solid but heavy sound, and I don't want the cymbal to get away from me, I use the butt. You can tell your drummer which way you want your song to sound just by telling us how to use the stick. We'll listen. It's our job. It's what we're trained to do. Another piece of advice you can give your drummer when your drummer is playing a portion of the song and the bass drum is really loud and you may want the dynamics to drop, let's say for the verses of a song, or maybe you might have that cool down vamp portion of the song where you might want to talk and you don't want a heavy kick drum behind you. Well, how do you relate that to your drummer in a technical manner? Check this out. Here, I have a bass drum pedal. Now, when your drummer is playing heavy, most likely they have their foot on the bass drum pedal and they're playing with their heel up. and they pushing down on the pedal really, really hard, causing the hammer of the pedal to hit the bass drum in a hard manner, giving you those big power stroke notes that you may like for the big heavy parts of the song. But for softer play, when they have their heel down on the pedal, they play the pedal much softer. So tell your drummer when you want the bass drum played softer to play heel down, maybe for the verses or for that special vent portion of your song. That way we understand the technical terms that you're giving us. We know exactly what you want. Go from playing heel up to heel down. Now, if your drummer is having trouble with technique and practice on heel up and heel down, tell them to check out your favorite drummer, Andrew Blaze Thomas. There's a link above that has a lesson, especially for drummers, how to play the bass drum pedal heel up or heel down. Band leaders, I hope you've enjoyed this lesson today. And remember, if your drummer is struggling with some of the technical capabilities that I talked about in this lesson, refer them to me. I'm teaching lessons. I do lessons online. Let them know that they can contact me via Facebook Messenger, Andrew Thomas, or my band page, Andrew Blaze Thomas. Or you can contact me over via YouTube. Please leave some comments. Let me know if you have any questions. Also, you can contact me via my website, andrewblazethomas.com. Now, band leaders, if you have any questions, any terminology, anything that you want to know how you can relate to your drummer a little bit better, leave comments below. Contact me via Facebook Messenger. Let's talk. Let's set your drummer up with some lessons. Let's have some good dialogue about the best way to communicate and the best way to get the best performance out of your drummer. So don't fire your drummer because they're not cutting the mustard. Refer him to your favorite drummer and Blues Music Award winner, Andrew Blaze Thomas.